Super excited to bring on our next guest. He's the play-by-play announcer for
The voice.
Outlaws and one of the absolute best in the business at it. We have Mike the Boiler. How's it going, Boiler? How are you?
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be on the show.
It's great to
Real
have
excited. Real excited.
When you text me finally, and I was talking to your dad Owen at the game, and he's like, "Oh, it's funny because Owen had just mentioned he was trying to find your contact information." So it was kind of an interesting situation there. But hey, cool! I'm finally glad to be on it. So
Yeah, you got you got the voice down.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, I mean, and obviously
I got the face for radio, bud.
Well, I mean, obviously, all of my any interview experience I have, or any media training or whatever, has all been through you. So we have to have you on. Obviously, I owe all that to you. You've interviewed me many times for the Outlaws stuff. So, thanks for doing this. We're excited to get into it.
Well, Owen, you were with the team for like 15 years, so it was about time I got hands right. So.
Yeah, no,
if you count the time in the stands, probably like us watching the games.
Yeah, with his super I've got a sore shoulder thing. Yeah, right. He just wanted to watch it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's just get into it. So what's just your background in hockey as a whole, and just how, did you
how did it start, man?
Yeah, how did it start? How did you first get into hockey, and then how does it go all the way from that to, getting into doing play-by-play and broadcasting like you do now?
So for me, obviously started like the rest of you guys when I was old enough to walk. My dad had me out on skates, played hockey my whole life. Not at a high level like you guys did, obviously, but I really enjoyed the game, and I always knew that there would be something for me. So later on in my career, I became a referee and a linesman, worked the PJHL for a few games. Thought that, it's just not for me. I want to get back then when I was a teenager, I thought, you're not going to get the girls if you're wearing the stripes. That was my thought process anyways. So I decided to give it up, and actually started volunteering with the Langley Junior Hockey at the time. Now this is going to make you guys feel pretty young, because it was probably before your time. But to 1992, I started out as a volunteer with the Langley Thunder back then. I was 15. I was 15 years old. I've been involved with junior hockey in some capacity for 31 years now. I started out as a goal judge, and then I worked my way into being a timekeeper / scorekeeper. And then after that was done, I was the mascot for 3 junior hockey teams that came through Langley. I was the original Buzz the Hornet for the Langley Hornets. I was Chief Wannawin, which I never thought I'd see the day where I was ever Chief Wannawin, because I hated that guy. And then Langley and Chilliwack didn't get along very well back in the day, right? So
yeah.
Then I was Fraser the Riverman for 3 years. But during that time, I'd actually moved into the booth as a color commentator with a fellow by the name of Brandon Astle. And he's the play-by-play voice of the Abbotsford Canucks now. Outstanding play-by-play guy. He also done the Vancouver Warriors. So I basically learned the ropes on how to conduct an online broadcast from him. And then a lot of times he was not very tech savvy when it came to being on the road. I'd help him out when he was on the road. We'd do I'd take the feed from, at the time it was Fast Hockey. We'd feed it through to MixLR, which is what I use for the live free audio on the Outlaws stuff. I do it all myself now for the Outlaws. All of a sudden, I was going to go for the job as a color commentator, and then Brandon got the job with the Abbotsford Heat at the time. So there was a vacancy for the Rivermen. I'd never done play-by-play before. So I put my name in, and I did a handful of games, but I didn't really get the feel for it. Like, it just wasn't that good. Getting names was the hardest part for me, and flow and that speed that the BC Hockey League goes at. My God, man. So I decided, I put my name in, and they picked somebody else. And I was a little disappointed when the Rivermen took over there. I was a little disappointed. So what I did was, a friend of mine actually owns the hockey house in Langley, which is the roller hockey rink just down in Mashad Crescent. And he had a professional roller hockey league that he wanted to cover online streaming. He said, "Is this something you can do?" Well, roller hockey is 4-on-4, no icings, no offsides. It's continuous for 20-minute periods, 2 periods. I did 2 games back to back a night.
Yeah.
So I always say to young guys that are like starting out in broadcasting, especially if they want to get into hockey, start with roller hockey. Because when you get to the ice hockey level, there's way more whistles. You have a better pace, but because you're used to such a high pace. And then the PJHL adopted fast hockey, and I put my name in with every single team across the board. And the Mission City Outlaws were the first to get me back.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
first, well, maybe not even 45 seconds after I sent the email, Scott Keeler at the time, who was the owner of the Outlaws, contacted me and said, "Hey, my guy just quit on me the night before. Come on over tomorrow and let's see what you can do." And then I did 3 seasons with the Outlaws, won a championship in 2016. Then in that summer, in that off season, I got the call because the Rivermen moved from the Langley Event Center over to George Preston to make way for the Vancouver Giants. I said to my wife at the time, I said, "I bet you I'm going to get a call," because I grew up with the Hendersons who owned the team, and I get a call the next day, and it was from Taylor Henderson, and he says, "Hey, what would it take to pluck you away from Mission?" And I was having so much fun. I just won a championship, great bunch of guys out there. Wanted to see where this was going to go. I turned it down and I hung up the phone. And my wife turns to me and says, "You spent 3 years trying to hone your craft to get back up to the level where you were doing color commentary before, and you hung up the phone on him?" I was like, yeah, I guess I did. So I said, "I'll call him back." I called him back. We met at the rink. He said, "This is what we're offering you." And so I jumped ship to the junior A level at that time with the BC Hockey League and did 5 seasons there. Obviously cut short in 2020. And then ownership switched hands. Now, it was 2 brothers that owned the Rivermen, just so you guys know. One brother bought out the other brother, and I didn't realize at the time, because I grew up with the boys, I was on the wrong side of the coin, and it was the brother it was their dad was the one that sold his shares, so they cleaned house on anybody that wasn't associated with the new owner's side.
Right.
So I put it out on social media that I wouldn't be returning, and I'm not kidding you. Within 20 seconds of putting that tweet out, or I guess the X now, formerly known as Twitter, Scott Keeler called me back again and said, "Hey, how long before you come back here? I hate the guy I got right now, and I want you back." And I was been there ever since. And that's we got there, yeah.
And you've been there ever since.
Yep.
So that's the last. I mean, so in your second stint now, you're on year 4 or 5.
4.
Okay, yeah, I thought so.
When I came back, though, I mean, Scott did 1 year, and then he sold the team the next year again, and I was like, "Oh crap, here we go again." And the new owners, Scott Farrell and Parv Dollywall, have been absolutely outstanding as owners, as you can attest to, Owen. Just great human beings, and I have nothing but positive things to say from them. They actually call me family or that of a capacity, and it really is. I mean, Owen, you've been there, like it's game nights. It's not you guys are players and we're volunteers or staff or whatever. It's, oh gosh, who can rib who the most before they get up on the ice surface, right? They can really freak out there, but they come along, and then they did 1 year with me, and then they're like, "We love you so much that we're going to sign you to a 3-year contract," which is unheard of for broadcasters. It's usually year to year.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So they signed me to a 3-year contract, and the next year is my last year, but they already said that there's an option at the end of this year just to sign for another 3 if I want. So they just want to keep me around. That's all. So I love it.
That's great.
I love it. It works with my schedule. It works with my lifestyle. I mean, I got kids. I got a regular job too, like everybody else. So
yeah. Do you have? I was going to say, do you have any aspirations to get back up there
to the BC Hockey League?
Like even the BCHL, WHL even?
I would probably jump to Dub if I could over the BC Hockey League. I don't think I'd go back to the BC Hockey League. To me, it's night and day in comparison, because with the BC Hockey League, it's so business-like. And with the PJHL, it's more of a gentleman's club. I don't know what it was like with you guys out in Revelstoke, but I mean, it seems like you guys are a little bit more business-oriented up in the KI than when we are than the PJ. But I mean, there's still a business in the PJ, but it just seems like people are more open to discussing things with you. At that level, you're not able. They don't tell you anything. Like literally, I will come out to a rink. I'll be watching warm up, and I'm like, "Who the heck is that guy out on the ice?" They don't even tell you who the new AP is, or the guy they picked up from Kelowna, or whatever, right? And then you have to start doing your quick search before you even go on a broadcast. As for the PJ, these guys call me 3 days ahead of time saying, "Hey, we're making a deal. Get ready and get this guy ready to go."
Yeah,
That's
okay.
the difference between the two. So WHL probably be the same idea, pretty business oriented, but I just think that the exposure that you get from that level would be, night and day compared to what it is at the PGHL level.
Yeah, of
Fair
course.
enough.
Well, maybe talk a little bit about that championship season with the Outlaws, and how not only that season, but actually, let me back up. So that season, what transpired? What was it like to watch that? Obviously, you talked about how much fun you were having getting to watch and be a part of that team. And then, so what was it like, getting to watch that? And then, doing this job again now, what are, some of the biggest changes you notice between the league then and now?
Best seat in the house.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, my makeshift seat in the house that I make there, because I don't have a broadcast unit, right? So I don't know if you've seen my Facebook page, but that's my broadcast spot as my cover photo. I don't know if you guys get a chance to that. It's public, so you'll see it. But for me, back in the day, the closeness, the guys always seemed to do a lot more stuff together. After practice, back then it was only Tuesdays and Sundays. Owen, which I don't think it changed much for when you were there either, but the guys after Tuesdays, they'd go to cheap movie night. Regardless of what garbage was out on the big screen, they were still going to the movies just because it was a group activity, right? They were always together, and if one guy wasn't at one guy's house, you knew he was at the other guy's house,
Right?
Or they were out together, right? So it was just the camaraderie between in that room, and everybody knew everybody, and they were all just really, really tight group. And the cool part for me was getting to call that playoff run. The other day I was talking about it with my son and talking about the Florida Panthers. Remember how they've won the Stanley Cup this year, and they came up short the year before, and they said it made him hungrier. And then now you heard Connor McDavid saying the same thing this year, that it made them tighter. And this year's it's this year a bust, right, for the Oilers. Same can be said for the Outlaws that season as well, because they came up short on the 2015 season against the North Van Wolfpack. And lost in 6. Now, however, they did have the flu, and there were guys playing in that game that had a fever of 106.
Sounds like Owen in his last game there.
That was what
Owen was pretty sick in his last game. I remember that too. Yeah. So and I think I made a reference to that about you kind of being in comparison to Brody Dick at the time. Brody Dick was this phenomenal player.
He did, yeah.
So what happened was like that next year they were hungrier, and all of a sudden they come out and they're 3-0 down to the Ridge Meadows Flames, who just snuck into the playoffs. And I have a little montage that I put together, and it's shared on the socials, but it's a little montage, and you can hear me go, well, if it wasn't do or die before, it sure is do or die now. And they come back and they win the next game in overtime. I thought it was over. Then they win the next game in overtime. Now it's 3-2. Then they come and they completely dominate them for the last 2 games and do a reverse sweep and win in 7, and then move on to Abbotsford and sweep them, which they'd never ever done in their entire franchise till this day. That's only once that they ever did that. They swept them in 4. Then they go against the Grandview Steelers, and they win 3, and then they lose by 1 goal in game 4. But that was at Burnaby Winter Club, and I just have the sneaky suspicion that our guys wanted to win on home ice because it looked like they took the night off, but they were just exhausted, right? So they come back, and then we lost our ice on our main rink.
Yeah, you were playing in the South, right?
Yeah, so we had to play in the South for the final game because the North had to be taken out for this lacrosse tryouts, which the surprising thing here, lacrosse never used the floor at all, like not until 3 weeks after that final was played.
Of course they did.
So we packed the South rink. There must have been 700 people there. At one point,
that tiny ice surface.
Yeah, exactly. And then at one point, the fire marshal showed up, and our owner went, "Oh God, like we're gonna get shut down." And he popped in. He goes, "I know you're above capacity." He goes, "I just want to see what the score was." He was like, "It was." So, and then we ended up winning 7-3 that night. So to win it 5-1, and then went on to Victoria to play in the Cyclone.
The Cyclone there.
Didn't get a chance to call that series or that tournament. Politics got in the way of me actually getting a chance to call that, but the guys were really welcoming that do the games there. They actually did a round table at the end of the night, kind of like what you guys are doing here, and they involved me with that so we can break down the day's worth of games.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
Oh, that's nice then.
I didn't make a waste of the trip out there, right? So, but I was a little disappointed because I wanted to call it, but Victoria was the host, and then Campbell River made the team. And just to give you perspective, Owen, that's like Abbotsford asking Mission for permission.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So they were just like, nope, Campbell River's coming. They want to bring their guy. We're not letting him, so we can't let you.
Yeah, I was like, exactly. I get it.
Come on, man. I'm like 10 times the broadcast. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's real good.
So this, I mean, obviously now, like I said earlier, in your second stint, the first 2 years of your second stint here, we had a bit of an older team. Obviously last year was a bit of a rebuild year. I mean, at my 20 year, we had a few 20-year-olds. We were still a playoff team, but and now we're into this year. So you've really seen the team have a huge change over the past few years. I don't think there's any players left now with Jensen gone from the team 3 years ago. So, what has it just been like, coming back and, just seeing the team change so much already over the past 3 or 4 years? And how has this year been? And, what are your expectations for the near future of this team?
I think if they keep going the pace they're going, they're looking to develop players, and you're getting a lot of kids that have never stepped on the ice as any kind of junior experience ever before, and so now to see these guys from the word go to now, seeing them come into their game. I mean, they picked up a big win against Surrey on Saturday in a tight race in the Harold Britton Conference. They were only 2 points behind us going into that game, and now they're 4 points behind us going into tonight's game, I guess, where they're hosting. But they have a game in hand, so that was a big win, character win. And I'm seeing this Outlaws team slowly make changes as they go along, not necessarily personnel wise. They have added some pieces to the puzzle, but I'm seeing them make changes in how they're reading the game, how they're discussing the game, compared to what I've seen in the past. We're talking discussing before the face-off, tons of conversation before they even drop the puck, coming in there day one of camp. And the first thing I noticed is their systems. And Derek Doucette has said the same thing, which you hear in every single interview that I've done with every single kid this year, is coach says 1% better every game. 1% better. And it's starting to slowly come into play. And is there a lot of naysayers out there? Yeah. Is everybody not going to be Brad Veach? They're not. And Brad just had that style about him. It was just, he was a very good technical sound coach. Everybody has their own format, but everybody just got so used to Brad that it just seems like everybody else that comes in just doesn't really get a fair shake. I didn't think that Kimber really got a fair shake last year. I think he did some good things with the team. I think Derek's going to even take it a step further, and I think Derek's here longer term. And I think the boys are starting to realize that now, and this might as well, instead of fighting it, why don't we just try and accept it and see what happens? But I have the Outlaws being a bit of a sleeper team. I know it's because I work for them, but nobody's noticing the Outlaws. And that's exactly the way they like it. They're kind of flying under the radar. So that's the difference that I've seen between, it's kind of the same similarity before too, because nobody took the Outlaws seriously for having so many bad seasons my first time around. It's the same kind of going on right now, but they're adding pieces to the puzzle. They got a lot of Alberta boys on the team this year.
Yeah, they do.
Those kids can flat out play hockey.
Yeah, they're young. They're a super young team too. So it'll be interesting to see how they develop in the near future. No, that's great to hear. I mean, obviously you're watching the games more than anyone, so it's good to hear your perspective. Joe, do you got anything here?
I was gonna jump back to the past a little bit and ask you this: what impressed you the most about that 2016 championship team? Like, what made them different to everyone else? And second to that, Veach was an amazing coach. Was he was the head coach for that championship, right?
Oh, yeah. He was there for
8 years, 9 years. If you touch on like kind of what he did for the organization and like what impressed you the most about that Outlaws team?
What impressed me the most about that Outlaws team was that any one of those guys could have played junior A hockey and they decided to stick around. To me, that just showed that they really bought into the system that was going on here. There was guys that broke records that year. Bryce Piziak, David McGowan. David McGowan I think he still holds the single season assist record. at 87 assists in one season.
Oh my God.
And then Bryce Pesiak did hold the single season point record, which was broken by former Outlaw, then turned Abbotsford Pilot and Bailey Wright. Bailey Wright, who I, by the way, work with his dad. So,
Oh yeah,
I was the reason why Bailey came to Mission.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I got there right away, and I got introduced to Brad, and then Brad said, Brad says, "Oh, you covered roller hockey." He goes, "Do you know the Wrights?" I said, "Well, yeah, I work for Rod," and he goes, "Oh, well, what's Bailey doing?" I said, "He's playing minor hockey." He's like hell he is. He goes, "Give me his number, I'll call him right now." He got an AP right away, right? So, and he AP'd his first year, made the team full time the next year, right? So, and then he went on to win the scoring title for the entire league, which is now, like I said, a record, right? So, yeah. And who knows? Who knew the broadcaster could bring some extra flair?
Recruiter, maybe in the future, a little scouting.
Yeah, maybe an assistant GM.
Yeah, somebody said that to me. Was one of our owners said that. He's like, I've always often thought about putting you as an assistant general manager. I'm like, I got enough on my plate, man. I don't need any extra.
Fair enough, man. No, that's that was a big part of our childhood. Me and Owen watching that champ. I think we've touched on it before in a couple other videos, but it made me want to play junior.
Yeah,
low key, like that was like that inspired me to be like, oh, I want to be those guys one day. You know what I mean? Sure. And I was lucky enough to get the chance to win. And it was amazing. What's up?
Remember Nick Thompson that played for the Outlaws that year?
Thompson, yeah. Yeah.
If you ever go back and watch old video, if you can see when Nick gets hurt in a game, or supposedly gets hurt in a game. He called it the Thompson Two-Tap. And what would happen is he would try to draw a penalty. And he would just try to get a rest for his team because he knew that they were about to go on a power play. So what he would do is he'd lay on the ice, but what he would do is he would tap his right skate down twice on the ice. And our trainer at the time knew to take his time coming over to get him. Instead of running out onto the ice, he would just walk to him. So 5 more time to get the top line ready to go for the start of that power play. And they would always score on that power play, right? So little things like that, like just cool little things like that. But you're right. That team was special. It was so much fun to be a part of. The only thing that my regret is because I made the jump, unfortunately, they felt that I didn't deserve a ring. So it's empty on my hands, as you can see. So
that's sad.
I never got a ring because some people were butthurt because I left. So to go to the junior. Yeah. So, and then I was warned, I was promised when I came back this time when the team wins, which I'm saying when, not if, when the team, I'm definitely getting one this time around.
Okay. So. Well, yeah, hopefully, yeah, the boys will make sure they get you one. That's criminal that you don't have a ring. Oh my goodness.
You got one. To me, you got one.
Yeah, exactly. In our eyes,
memories, right? So, and then and that's the other thing too, right? Like for me, it's just a ring. I mean, I'd love to have it, and I know a lot of my friends have won it with other teams, and they nothing but show it to me as their broadcasters. I think Langley won a couple of years back there, and the PA guy got one. Like seriously, the PA guy got one, and I didn't get it. And I was with this team from all the games, home and away. Like I'm the only guy.
Crazy.
Yep. I was not. Yeah, it's still a sour spot for me, but
yeah, it should be. Oh my goodness! Wow. Well. Sorry, Joe.
That's all I had for questions. That's I was
actually going to say too. I don't think I got anything left questions wise here. I was going to just kind of open the floor to you if you got anything else you want to talk about or any stories, anything like that. This interview's flown by, so just anything you got.
Oh, you guys want stories? I
feel like this guy's got a million stories. Yeah.
So I got a recent story for you guys that I can share with you. Recently, the Outlaws went and they acquired a kid by the name of Jet Toy Fudger, and he spells his last name Toye. And I was like, that's weird. We used to have a Randy Toy in 93-94 play for the Langley Thunder. Any relation? So I go up to this kid and I'm like, hey, I'm Mike the Boiler. Well, I don't even say the Boiler, but I'm Mike Bordignon. I'm the play-by-play voice of the Outlaws. And he's like, cool, I'm Jet Toy Fudger. I'm like, yeah, I noticed that. I'm like, your last name, any relation to Randy Toy? And his face just lit up. And he's like, that's my uncle. And I'm like, what a small world. And I'm like, your uncle had 168 points in a single season for the Langley Thunder. This guy
Holy
was a stud. But Joe, you're gonna love this as a goalie because you wouldn't have had the issue with this, but Owen might not have liked it. He used to shave his wooden stick to a fine point, and then he would tape the end of the stick to kind of conceal it, but enough to have a little bit of a prick out there. So what would happen is when he would go into the corners to mucker up with guys, he would jab them in the rib cage, and they would let go of the puck and then back down the ice.
That's
He
old
was
time hockey.
mean. And my folks used to own a couple of Subway restaurants back when I was younger, and they had a promotion where the Thunder players were going to come and make subs. And Randy had fought the night before, and he hit nothing but guy's helmet, and he had all these bludgeoned hands. And my mom's like, I can't have you serving people. So how about we put you in the back with some gloves on, and you can do like prepping tomatoes and meat and lettuce and that kind of thing. Perfectly fine with that. But the small world, like it's just like the hockey community.
Yeah.
And I owe so much to this game over my entire life, including the junior hockey game, the junior hockey teams that I've been with. And I always joke that most of my wardrobe is teams that I've worked for. I don't actually buy any of my own clothes because it's all just kind of given me. As you can see, my sweater today, right? The Outlaws hats. I've got sometimes I go mix match. I wear a Riverman hat with that's just clean. But I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but years ago I had a pretty serious situation happen in my house. I think Owen might know this, but my wife passed suddenly, and if it wasn't for the hockey community rallying behind me, I don't know what would have happened. But getting guys that reached out to me from that 2016 team, which I was with them from 2013 on, and then guys I call games for that are playing in the NHL now that just lit up my phone with condolences or I'll be there for you, and they were there for me. Nothing beats the hockey family community, and you guys can attest to that, playing for as many years as you have. And now, Joe, you're moving on with your college guys there. These are guys that you're going to spend the rest of your life with as family members. They're not just teammates, they're family, right? And to me, I may be just a broadcaster, but to me, I always feel like I'm part of the family. And so it's always gotten me through a lot of good times, some bad times as well. And just to go back on my highlight for me is I've never, ever in the entire time that I've been doing play-by-play broadcasting have I missed the postseason, and I don't plan on that happening again this year.
Good, man. What a message.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I'm so happy with that, man.
That was the best. Yeah, that was definitely probably the best possible way we could have ended that off. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was amazing.
That's a great. That just makes me feel good, man. That makes me feel good about the hockey community, and that makes me happy. So I'm happy that it's done so much for you, man.
No, man, and then shows like this, man, just kind of lets you relive the old days too, and then hearing some of the old guests you guys had on there too. And I mean, you must have had a moment of weakness. You let Austin Charlton on there, but that's okay. That's just a joke. He'll see that and go, oh, Boiler, I'm going to get you for good. Remember that when I told him that he was the biggest guy next to, or bigger than Nick Peebles?
Yeah.
And he's still bugged about that. He said it to me at training camp before he left for Comox. He said, oh, I'm not the biggest guy anymore. I lost 50 pounds and shredded.
That's awesome, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and doing this interview. This has been great, and just thank you for all the stories you shared. This was a great interview, and obviously also thank you so much for being the voice of the Mission City Outlaws while me and Joe were growing up, and as well again while I was playing for the team. You were always an absolute pleasure to be around, and everyone notices how much you put into it, and the Outlaws all love you. So thank you so much for everything, Boiler. And Joey, I'll let you have the last word here.
No, I really appreciate the message and everything. And like I said, like Owen said there, being the voice of that 2016 run is pretty special as well. So always see you doing the color, doing the play-by-play for the Outlaws. I can't miss you up there with all your computer screens and shit going on. And right. But yeah, no, I think we all owe you, and just thank you for everything you've done.
Thanks, guys, and I'll return the favor and get you on one of our intermissions one of these days. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
That'd be awesome. I would love to.
All right.